What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country and around the world that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got multiple different things here. Two basic world leaders coming into power or regime changes that we'll tell you about here on the world stage here. Also, stimulus checks. Mark these dates on your calendar now. We'll go over some dates that millions of Americans are going to be receiving stimulus checks, inflation relief checks, and I'll show you them here directly on the screen. So if you're new to our channel or if you haven't yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below and the bell icon after you subscribe. I've also seen some people commenting in the comment section here lately that they're not getting the notifications. If you don't get the notifications after you've subscribed and clicked the bell icon, it's probably because your device, your phone or your iPad or whatever you're watching it on, doesn't allow the notifications because of your settings. So go into your settings and look for like your YouTube settings and allow notifications. So I've been seeing a lot of people saying, I don't get the notifications. That's probably why. If you've already clicked the bell icon, you're probably not just allowing notifications for YouTube. So keep that in mind. Okay, here we go. A lot going on here already today. World faces tensions with China under Xi Jinping's third term here today. You might not think a lot of this, but Chinese rulers, until today, weren't allowed to have a third term, similar to US presidents. So he basically abolished the rule to have a third term and just said, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that rule. In case you don't believe me, take a look at this. Between 1982 and 2018, the Chinese constitution stipulated that presidents could not serve more than 2 consecutive terms. Well, being a communist rulers in 2018, he just got rid of that rule. Term limits were abolished without changing its powers. So now, current president Xi Jinping has now been elected for a third term, and he's now a third term ruler in China and now could be elected for a potentially unlimited amount of terms going forward. So let me know your thoughts on this. This would be similar to President Biden or President Trump or former President Trump or any president here in the United States saying, yeah, I'm just going to get rid of that rule that says, current presidents can only serve 2 terms. We're just going to get rid of the rule and serve as many terms as we like going forward. We're just going to serve there forever. So you can let me know your thoughts on that. Meanwhile, the UK, the United Kingdom, is set to have a new prime minister as they've gone through 2 prime ministers in 45 days. The shortest time ever in the history of their country, as they're dealing with pretty much the same thing we're dealing with here in the United States. Remember, inflation is everywhere on a global scale. In fact, inflation is about 25% higher in the United States. We're in the 8, and core inflation here is 8.2%. The Social Security rate is going to be 8.7%. It's on a different scale. But their inflation is 10.1%. Remember, inflation in most of Europe is around the 10% scale, actually. And this is bad. So they have the new UK Prime Minister, Liz Truss, just resigned here a few days ago. They're now set to bring in a new Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, to be Britain's new Prime Minister as his rivals quit the race. He's only 42 years old. I will be 42 years old here in actually a few months. So, wow, what a great accomplishment. He does not automatically become the prime minister on Monday, as ritual dictates that the outgoing prime minister, in this case Liz Truss, first has to tender their resignation to King Charles. Yeah, he will take over as the leader of the Conservative Party just 7 weeks as the previous prime minister of the Conservative Party resigned. And meanwhile, here in the US, our conservative party, the Republicans, are seeing you can see the headlines right here, sharp swing in momentum towards the conservative party, aka the Republican Party, the GOP, sparks Democratic angst. Yeah, angst growing among Democrats. That momentum they saw earlier this year in their bid to keep control of the Senate is beginning to wane as inflation is the number one concern among voters. In fact, independent Senator Bernie Sanders has been warning about this and actually he actually just came out here and said this. In fact, listen to what he has to say here today. Check this out.
Democrats should be talking to voters about the economy. And joining me now is independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who, of course, caucuses with the Democrats in the Senate. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. So you've been calling on Democrats to focus on the economy, not only on other issues like abortion rights or attacking Republicans. It has been months since you've been repeating this message. The election is 16 days away. How's it going? Are you worried Democrats still have not found the right message on the economy?
Well, look, what I think, Jake, is at a time when working families are struggling, having a hard time filling up their gas tanks, paying for food, paying for prescription drugs, we are living in a nation today where the richest people are doing phenomenally well. And one of the reasons for inflation is the incredible level of corporate greed. Check out the profits of the oil companies, the drug companies, the food companies. Their sky-high profits are ripping off the American people. And there are studies out there that estimate that 50% of inflation has to do with corporate greed. So I think what the Democrats have got to say is we are going to stand with working people. We're prepared to take on the drug companies. We're prepared to take on the insurance companies and create an economy that works for all of us. Is the abortion issue important? Yes. But we have also got to focus on the struggles of working people to put food on their table.
Early voting has started in key states such as Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada. What are you seeing and hearing about energy among Democratic voters right now out there?
Well, I am worried about the level of voter turnout among young people and working people who will be voting Democratic. And I think, again, what Democrats have got to do is contrast their economic plan with the Republicans. What are the Republicans talking about? They want to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid at a time when millions of seniors are struggling to pay their bills. Do you think that's what we should be doing? Democrats should take that to them. Democrats want to have Medicare negotiate prescription drug prices. We pay 10 times more for the same drugs that are sold in Canada. Republicans refuse to do that. So I think what we have got to do is contrast what a strong pro-worker Democratic position is with the corporate agenda of the Republicans.
But to play devil's advocate here, if I'm a swing voter out there, a young voter, a working class voter, I hear your message, I think, but you guys control everything. Democrats control the House and the Senate and the White House, and inflation is really high, and I'm having a tough time making ends meet. Why should I vote for you again?
Well, we have half the votes, exactly half the votes in the Senate, and a tiny majority in the House. And I think it's important that when we talk about inflation, Republicans will say, well, this is Joe Biden's fault. Really? Our inflation rate is much too high. It is 8%. It is 10% in the UK, 10% throughout Europe, 7% in Canada. Inflation is a global problem caused, by the breaking of supply chains because of the pandemic, by the war in Ukraine, and as I said, significant part of inflation has to do with corporate greed. What are the Republicans' response to inflation? What do they want to do? Well, maybe they want to cut wages for workers. Do they want to raise the minimum wage? No, they don't. So I think it's important to take the attack to the Republicans. What do they want to do other than complain? But bottom line is, you cannot cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, which is what they want to do. We have got to lower prescription drug costs, which is not what they want to do.
A lot of fears out there that a recession is coming, and President Biden even told me at the White House last week that he thinks a slight recession is possible. Take a listen. Should the American people prepare for a recession?
No, I don't think there will be a recession. If it is, it'll be a very slight recession. That is, we'll move down slightly.
Do you think the U.S. is headed for a recession, and is there anything that can be done to stop it?
Well, I think what we certainly don't want to see is a Fed raising interest rates right now, which will result in more unemployment and lower wages. Here is the reality. You know, you ask, Jake, why people are upset, why young people are upset, working class people are upset, and the answer is pretty simple. For the last 50 years in this country, real wages have not gone up. That's a reason to be upset. Meanwhile, you got 3 people on top who own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. So what working people all over this country are saying, you know what? We are sick and tired of seeing all of the wealth, all of the income going to the people on top. Help us out. Why are we the only country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people? Why do we pay the highest prices for prescription drugs? Why do we have a minimum wage today? Republicans don't want to raise it. $7.25 an hour. That is a starvation wage. Why do kids leave school deeply in debt?
Right.
So we need an aggressive government that says we're on your side, not on the side of the billionaires.
But do you think a recession is coming?
Hard to say. I think if we do the right things, we can protect the working class of this country.
Some Democrats are calling to abolish the debt ceiling altogether after House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, poised to become the next speaker, threatened to use it as leverage for further spending cuts if Republicans win back the House. Take a listen to President Biden and Treasury Secretary Yellen, who have different views on how to move forward on the debt ceiling.
I think it's become increasingly damaging to America to have a debt ceiling.
Do you support the permanent repeal of the debt ceiling, sir?
You mean just say we don't have a debt limit?
No debt.
No, that'd be irresponsible.
You are the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Do you side with President Biden, or is Secretary Yellen right? It's time to get rid of the debt ceiling.
Look, what I side with, you're going to have to increase the debt ceiling. But what Republicans are basically doing, and I hope everybody understands this, they're saying, look, we are prepared to let the United States default on its debt, not raise the debt ceiling, unless, you talk about, making cuts. You know what they're talking about? Cuts in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Is that irresponsible? It is absolutely irresponsible. You don't use the debt ceiling to do that.
So you side with President Biden on this. You raise the debt ceiling, but you keep it.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, that's right. We're gonna have to raise the debt ceiling again here. It's not right this minute, but it's coming up eventually. I mean, the thing is that I personally do think they should just get rid of the debt limit. It's because remember that they have to approve the vast majority of spending anyways through Congress. It's like 99% of spending goes through Congress anyways. Okay, so it really, why does it need a double approval? And the problem is Congress, Republicans and Democrats both, they play this political game with the debt limit, and eventually it's going to cause our country to default. And we've had such very slim margins of getting the debt limit passed, and the debt limit, if they don't pass it, it will mean our country will default. It'd be like saying that we no longer can guarantee our debt as a country, and almost like saying we can no longer guarantee our dollar. It's a very, very bad thing, and it's an absolute nightmare. We'll be talking about that here in the future because it's going to happen again. We're going to be coming up to that here. It'll be after the midterm elections, but it's just unbelievable. You can let me know your thoughts here on this. Stimulus check. Mark these dates on your calendar now, as more and more stimulus checks, inflation relief checks are still coming out here this month. If you've been, this year, I'll say, because this month's almost over, but still some are going to be coming out here for the rest of this year. If you've been watching my channel, you know that there's 33 different states that have approved stimulus checks, inflation relief checks, tax rebate checks, whatever you want to call them, slightly different names throughout each state. And there's federal programs as well. Remember, the big one right now is the student loan forgiveness of $10,000 to $20,000 for over 40 million Americans. And there could be even more other programs coming out here soon as well. Remember, we've had rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance, 3 stimulus checks on the federal level, and there could be a lot more coming here soon. So let's go over some of these dates coming here soon. Alaska, Governor Mike Dunleavy announced that $3,200 payments from the state's permanent dividend funds would be issued to qualifying Alaskans whose applications were approved by September 9th. $3,200 per person. Those who filed by paper or requested a paper check began seeing checks in October. This amount is larger than normal for residents because of the addition of a $650 energy relief payment. Under the Colorado cashback program, eligible residents received payments of $750 per person or $1,500 for joint filers. But here's some new dates coming out here as well. California has stimulus checks going out to 23 million Americans right now. These checks are going to continue here for quite some weeks as they're sending out literally to 23 million Americans. Okay, so there's going to be some people that kind of are waiting on checks here. Qualifying California residents who filed their taxes electronically were to get stimulus money by October 25th. Those who filed by paper will get their checks. So I think those who filed, they sent their taxes in the mail, will get theirs between October 28th and November 14th. So keep those dates in mind. The amounts vary from $250 to $1,050. The $250 is if you make a higher income, like between 700 or between 75,000 and like $150,000. But most people are going to get $350 per person stimulus checks up to $1,050. So if you have up to 3 people in your family, including dependents, you will get $1,050. So $350 per person. 2 people, $700. 3 people, $1,050. Okay, so those are the dates there for California checks. Still going out. Still going out. Illinois, November 7th. Illinois payments of $50 per person, $100 for married couples, and it's also an extra $100 for dependents. So you can get up to $400 for the checks there for families, depending on how many people. And there's also an up to $300 for property tax rebates for property owners. So a total of up to $700 between the 2 checks, how many people in your family, and if you're a property owner. For those who made less than $200,000. The state began issuing checks in September, noting that it would take about 8 weeks to send those checks to all who qualify, going out till November 7th-ish. If you're waiting on a paper check in the mail, could be some time here. Indiana, November 1st. Qualifying taxpayers in Indiana will get $200 sometime in late October, most likely. The state asked residents to wait until November 1st before contacting the Department of Revenue if they haven't received their checks. So if you haven't received your checks, you can just Google Indiana Department of Revenue and call them up. Rhode Island, October, for qualifying parents who filed an original or amended tax return by August 31st. There's $250 to $750 child tax credit rebates being distributed in October right now. That's $250 per child on a child tax credit. Remember that a lot of states have child tax credits. This is for Rhode Island, but there's a lot of states that have child tax credits on the state level in addition to the child tax credits on the federal level. Okay, even if they don't pass the enhanced child tax credits, they're probably going to go back down to $2,000 per child. You will need to file a tax return on the federal level to do that. I'll keep you up to date here on all this on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed with the bell icon on and you have notifications enabled on your device or on your YouTube settings. Virginia, October 31st, qualifying Virginians who filed their taxes by September 5th were scheduled to receive their rebates, $250 for single filers, $500 for joint filers by October 31st. Happy Halloween. Also, we're going to be doing a giveaway for our viewers here this month as well. So coming here before the end of the month. So stay tuned for that. We're actually going to be having giveaways here for our viewers, our subscribers, our watchers, our YouTube family community here in October, November, and December. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out for that. We're just going to be giving away some cash to our viewers here. Just appreciation for our community here. So make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon. Don't forget to like and share these videos as well to any of your friends or family that need to know this information. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And here is my new video about the Social Security increased payout dates. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.